Welcome back, everybody. Great to have you with us on the program This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned, our guest on the program is Lynn Ahbonbon. She holds an MBA from the University of Southern California. She's an executive writer, business coach, entrepreneur for more than 15 years, a passionate advocate for healthy, toxin-free food, and author of Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. Also, Food Made at Home, Things the Food Industry Does Not Tell You. Another book is Success Begins at Home, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Start and Succeed While Staying Fit and Healthy, and Worldly Home Cooking, Healthy and Delicious Recipes. She's received numerous awards and recognitions from the federal and state governments as well as business associations for her work and achievement. We're talking about the book today, Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. Lynn Ahbonbon with us on the program. Hi, Lynn. Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us.
Hi, Rick. Pleasure to see you today.
All of these books that we'll be talking about in this program and future programs, we're going to focus on why Americans are fat and sick. And this is really interesting because this book, what basically wrote itself, this is information that you've been giving family and friends for years, and you decided to write the book. And it talks about some of the health issues that you and family members went through. So this really is an important book to you, isn't it?
Yes, this is very important. And I want people to know that there's hope. That means that if they fail their diets elsewhere, it's not that because they're not trying to eat less or eat different kind of food. It's caused by the toxins in the food. So as long as they know what to watch for, then they can take their body back to normal. It will take time and patience, but one step at a time.
Well, and this is something that you can talk about because you went through it. Let's talk about your situation. You were saying that your own health started to decline as you hit one of those plateaus in life, and you were spending a lot of time at work, and in fact, you spent a lot of time at the gym, yet you had allergies, you were not feeling well, you were actually gaining weight. Talk about where you were and the realization that, this really isn't working. And you were eating, as I understand, foods that are labeled as low fat and healthy.
Exactly. Rick, what really hit me in the head right here was that 3 of my family members got cancer and they all got lymphoma. Now, lymphoma happens when there's so much toxins in the body that your body cannot get rid of. And it's just like a wake-up call for me. And at the same time, I was working 16 hours a day. I did not have any time for cooking or for eating. And so I would buy what's so-called healthy dinner or TV dinners. And I would eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that was my daily meal, and at the same time, I would go to the gym to work out, but I didn't seem to lose any weight. And on top of that, my body developed all kind of problems and chronic allergies and bloated, and my thyroid started to fail. And it's all associated with the kind of food that I ate. And later on, after I did the research, I found out why.
You're listening to This Week in America. Our guest on the program is Lynn Ahbonbon. Her website is ahbonbon.com. That's ahbonbon.com. The book we're talking about, and Lynn has written several, is called Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. And, of course, you can go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and click on and get information on the book. One thing that you did is, as you were going through this period, you said that you became a better consumer and a label reader. Let's talk about what you found, because the information and the words you talk about with the high fructose corn syrup and trans fats, those are on all the labels, but most people really don't understand what that means. When you started reading labels and found out the problem, talk about that and what we need to watch for.
Rick, I can be sitting here and talking about food toxins all day long, and my topic will never end. After what happened to me and my family, I started to do a lot of research on the U.S. food supplies. I would read anything out there from the Harvard Public Health to newspaper to research materials. And the more I read about it, the more alarming facts that I found. Today, due to timing, we will cover just high fructose corn syrup and trans fat. The holidays are coming, and well, we just have Thanksgiving, but there are Christmas and there are New Year. So I just want people to be more aware of the food that they buy at the supermarket. And a lot of us will go out and eat and buy pies and goodies and
Yes.
all kind of sweets, correct?
Yep.
Or some of us would try to make some homemade, like I would go and buy some frosting and put on my cake for decoration because it's nice and pretty. So the number one topic I want to talk today first is trans fat. Now, let me explain to you what trans fat means, because before I did the research, I didn't know what trans fat was. I know that in year 2006, I heard on TV that the FDA started to require manufacturers to list on the label the number of grams of trans fat that the food contains. And I have no clue what trans fats were. Do you know what trans fats are?
No, and I'm like you. I look at the label and I see that on there, and I'm really not aware of exactly what it is. But you did the research and found out. Tell us, because it's going to be shocking, and it's going to be something when we look at the label and see that, we're going to understand that, okay, this is really not good for us.
I give you an example. As Asian, I crave for instant noodles. Don't you crave for instant noodles?
Sounds good.
And when I was in college, that was my daily meal, because as a student, we were not very wealthy, so instant noodle was the cheapest form to eat. And I used to see it saying hydrogenated oil, or sometimes hydrogenated vegetable oil. So I didn't know what hydrogenated means. I just read the vegetable oil and I said, okay, there's vegetable oil, so that's good. I can eat vegetable oil, correct? But then later on, when I did the research, trans fats are hydrogenated oil, partially hydrogenated oil, or vegetable shortening. And the way they convert the trans fat is they use the hydrogenation process to convert to typically the cheapest form of oil. Cottonseed oil, soy oil. I mean, I don't even know where to buy cottonseed oil. You know where
Yes,
to buy them?
yes.
So that's what I used to consume, because I was not a very informed consumer. I mean, I have an MBA college degree, but we don't learn that in college. We learn everything about business and normal stuff, but not what the food supply is doing to our body.
Well, yeah, and when you learn, I guess, the business aspect of it, it's like, okay, from a business standpoint, it's inexpensive and it makes food last forever. So it's really because of that, but it's totally prominent in our food supply.
And the reason that food corporations use them, there are two reasons. The first one is that it's the cheapest form of oil they're using. Therefore, they can make more profit. The second thing is trans fat is very popular for them because, let's see, if they use real butter, a piece of cake or bread or whatever they make with will get spoiled within a couple of days or maybe 3 days. But if they use hydrogenated oil, guess what? They can keep on the shelves for a long, long time. It can be up to 6 months and the food will not get spoiled. So that's a good kind of preservative for them as well. That's the reason why they're using them. Now, after I learned about trans fat, I went and told my sister about trans fat, and one day we got a fight. She said, "Why are you telling people about trans fat when I could not find a single item in the supermarket that has trans fat?" And what she was referring to is on the label, it says 0% trans fat. And then, so it caused me to go and do more research about it. And I found out that according to the FDA, if the one single serving has less than 0.5 grams of trans fat, is considered 0% trans fat. Guess what? All the serving size has been reduced to very so that it's camouflage, it's masked. There's no longer trans fat. But then when you look at the ingredients, the list of ingredients where the fine print is so small, it say hydrogenated oil. That's trans fat. You see what I mean?
Yeah, so zero doesn't mean zero. And all of this information, the book we're talking about is Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. It's available all across the country, information and link on to Lynn's website at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Her website, and our guest is Lynn Ahbonbon. That's spelled Ahbonbon. The website is ahbonbon.com. You talked, the government says, okay, now you've got to put on there how many grams of trans fat. How many grams is it safe to consume in a day? Is there a limit to where, okay, this is going to be in our food, and if you exceed this, you're asking for trouble?
Consuming more than 1 gram of trans fat is very harmful to health. Let me ask you a question. A bag of, let's see, of potato chips or cookies is this small and has 7 servings. How many days you think it would take me to finish the bag? The bag is only this little.
Now, is this before or after you did the research?
Well, it doesn't matter. My point is, this bag has 7 servings. This bag, only this little, has 7 servings.
Yeah, I mean, you could sit and eat that in one serving.
Yeah, usually I would eat that in one day.
Yes.
So I could be consuming more than 2 or 3 grams of trans fat in that one single bag. And that's not the only food we're eating. We're thinking about other foods such as cookies or burger buns, taco shells, you name it. You could be eating a lot of trans fat in one day without even knowing it.
What is the harm of trans fat? What do you find what's the negative impact on the body?
Trans fat is very harmful because it increases your bad cholesterol and it decreases your good cholesterol. So on top of that, trans fat doesn't really go away. It stays around your belly and your body doesn't know how to process something that chemical. It causes obesity and heart attack. According to the Harvard Public Health, if we eliminate trans fat from the U.S. food supply, we will save 200,000 lives a year from deaths related to heart attack from eating trans fat. Can you believe that? That's horrible.
A staggering figure. And as I knew would be the case, we're rapidly running out of time. We're talking about the new book, Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. Lynn Ahbonbon is the author and our guest on the program, and she will be back on future programs. Are there tips that you can give us on how to avoid trans fat so we don't fall into this? Because it really, I mean, from what you're telling me, it's not going to take too long during the course of the day when suddenly you're in that 2 or 3 gram category and you're really doing almost irreparable harm to your body. Any tips how we can avoid trans fat?
Rick, the number one hidden trans fat is actually in the restaurant foods. See, at least at the supermarket, we can look at it from the label, but restaurants are not required to disclose the use of trans fat. And the majority of them are using it. Why? Because it's cheap and they don't have to change the oil very often. You see what I mean? They
Yes.
can use the same fryer and fry it all over again. So when you eat out, and just remember, even expensive and high-end restaurants use trans fat. They're all over the places. They're in the pizza dough, they're in the frying food, they're in the cakes and dessert. So when you go out, just make sure to ask the cook what kind of oil they're using. And if something that is white and solid at the room temperature, that's trans fat. So that's one step that you can do. And if you cannot find out, just don't eat any frying food or dessert. But that's really hard. And around the holidays, a lot of us are buying pies and cakes. And I bet you the majority of them have trans fat in it. They use hydrogenated oil for frozen pies. Like you buy a pie shell in the frozen section, usually it has trans fat in it. Or the pie at a major chain restaurant, because that's how they make them. They process them, they bake them in high volume. Therefore, they have to make sure that the pie stay for a long time. Otherwise, it gets spoiled really quickly when they bake so many of them. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So that's how we can avoid trans fat. And the best thing to do is to make it yourself from scratch. Just use regular butter. I mean, see, your body can eat butter and process it, but if you eat trans fat, it stays around your belly, and that's why people have inflated. They are inflated. They have big belly, and it seems like double chins.
Yes.
It all came from the toxins they're eating.
Well, our guest on This Week in America is Lynn Ahbonbon, a healthy eating expert, a food activist, author of a number of books. We're talking specifically about why Americans are fat and sick. She talks about home cooking. One of her books that we'll talk about on a future program is Worldly Home Cooking, Healthy and Delicious Recipes. Got about a minute left in the program. And again, I'll encourage people to go to the website, Lynn's website. A lot of great information there. That's ahbonbon.com. ahbonbon.com, or you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to Lynn's website. We did not get to high fructose corn syrup, which is bad as well, and we will talk about that on the next program. When you did your research and you started reading labels, how long did it take before you started really seeing results that, yeah, I'm going in the right direction now? This really was the prudent thing to do.
Well, I'm just a normal person. And when I read everything about research, I didn't take it seriously. And I say, oh, right, they're just being biased. But the more I dig into it, and when I switch my diet to what I think is best for me, I actually recover myself. And look how pretty I look today.
Yes, you got to go to our YouTube channel and you'll see what we're talking about, the YouTube version of the program. If you go to thisweekinamerica.us and click on YouTube, you'll go directly and look for the program with Lynn Ahbonbon. So you actually, when you're talking to people about this, you look great. You say you're feeling great. It's really worked for you. The book we're talking about is Why Americans Are Fat and Sick. Lynn Ahbonbon, our guest, Ahbonbon. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on to get information on the book. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We look forward to having you back on the show. Thank you for being with us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Rick, and I will see you very soon.
We will be back in touch. You're listening to This Week in America, and our website is thisweekinamerica.us.